Hello, everybody. Welcome into our pre-show here at Computer America. 2 hours of Linux tonight. Marcel Gagné, our Linux expert, will be joining us for both hours as we talk about Linux, and more Linux. This is the show. This is the place you want to be if you have any interest in Linux whatsoever. And obviously with Windows 10, just here now, I think more and more people are considering Linux as an alternative operating system. No reflection on how good or bad Windows 10 is, just an observation. But we'll hear more about that with Marcel as we do 2 hours of Computer America. It's coming straight at you right here. So stand by.
Even with all the bombshells of Windows 10, I think it would take a bigger bomb to get all the Linux fans out of their Linux bunkers.
Oh, are you trying to say that there's actually something good about Windows 10?
4, 3.
I'm trying to figure out how this question was worded.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it is Thursday. Oh, here on the Computer America Show. I'm kind of excited here because we're doing something new, and this is the first evening that we're doing it. We're using a newer technology that is going to improve the audio of the show, and that begins tonight. We're actually coming to you in hi-fi sound audio quality, and we probably won't know the difference until after the show, and then I monitor it from Blog Talk Radio, one of the networks. But hopefully,
but we spent all day, all afternoon, greasing all of the wires between us and the network with, margarine and olive oil, just whatever we could to get it slick WD-40, and so now we should be buttery smooth.
Yeah, exactly.
Not if we used olive oil.
Well, she wasn't around anyway. So, so there you go. All right, but welcome into it. It's our all Linux show tonight here on Computer America, and we're going to talk about Linux, and more Linux. And the person I'm going to be doing that with is Marcel Gagné. He is the author of several books, including Moving to Linux, Kiss the Blue Screen of Death Goodbye, now in its second edition. Other books include Moving to Ubuntu Linux, and his newest title is Moving to Free Software. He was also a Linux Journal monthly columnist. His column was titled Cooking with Linux. Marcel was also a regular columnist for Linux Magazine, and he was senior editor and columnist for Ubuntu Magazine and a number of other magazine publications. So please welcome author and columnist and now Computer America correspondent Marcel Gagné to the show. Marcel, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
We're doing fine.
We're doing good.
Yeah, we're doing. The show is expanding. We're now, I understand, on SoundCloud and was it Stitcher?
I love SoundCloud. I do. I'm a big fan of SoundCloud. I love that. I love that service.
Well, we're on that. We can hear their shows on SoundCloud.
That's good to know. I actually subscribe to several podcasts. Well, I actually subscribe to podcasts in a variety of ways, but on SoundCloud as well. So I think it's a wonderful service. I really quite enjoy it. I like how easy it is to embed a piece of audio or a show in a SoundCloud, and I even have like my own wonderful clip that you should link to on SoundCloud, because it's me talking to one of those people who calls up on the phone and says they're from Microsoft and they're coming to fix your computer.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And I troll this person for about 7 minutes.
Wow.
He's not coming to this guy's house ever again. Now let me just.
It was fun.
Let me just.
Now, how much of before Craig does all that, because that's actually very interesting to me, because not a lot do you get people who try to steal credit cards, and every minute that you can keep them on the line is another minute they're not scamming someone else. So I applaud that kind of action.
I'm just a force for good in my time.
I can tell. I can tell. And like, did the 7 minutes kind of end with, where's the Windows key? I use a Linux. I'm sorry.
They got really they got this woman on like it started with some guy who was going through the process. It's like, oh, I'm calling from Microsoft and we see that there's something wrong with your computer. And of course at the time I was actually running an OpenSUSE desktop, so like yeah. Anyway, so I am playing dumb, like completely dumb. It's like, well, click the start button. Well, which one's that? Well, it's the button in the oh, you mean the one that you click and the little menu comes up? He says, yeah, that's the one. So I'm going through all this, like, and just going on and on about it, and they're asking all these questions. And finally he said, I'm going to put somebody else on who knows more about this. And this woman comes on, and she starts asking me some of the other questions. And she said, well, what if you do this? Can you run a command this way? Oh, yeah, I can run a command, no problem. And I'm doing all this. And finally she figures out what's happening at some point. And she gets really angry at me, and she says, how dare you waste people's time like this?
Oh.
What is it that you're doing,
No, she's not trying to waste time. She's trying to take people's credit cards.
Money.
Exactly. She's trying to steal money from people. But
and how dare you interfere with that process?
How dare I interfere? But so I posted it on SoundCloud. I've got it on SoundCloud. Just the whole conversation. As soon as I knew that it was this people, were calling from Microsoft. So, oh, that's so sweet. I'm just going to start recording this right now.
Kudos for thinking on your feet. That's not always the knee-jerk reaction for me is always hang up. I have nothing to do with
Piss
these
off,
people.
go away.
But yeah.
Now,
good going.
Now, if you have a question for us or a comment, let me give out the phone numbers to call. Give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. If you are radio shy, you don't want to go on the air, in the right-hand upper corner of every page of our website at computeramerica.com, it'll say submit a question. Just click on it. It'll take you to our question submission page. You can type in your name and your question there, hit the submit button, and Ben and I will see your question displayed, and then we can ask the question for us, I assume for Marcel tonight, and we'll get that answered that way. That works. Also,
and we should say that you don't need to be radio shy. I mean, none of us are scary.
That's true.
We'll mute our mics when we laugh at you. We promise. It's painless.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
We don't do any laughing. No.
No, we play recorded laughter because it's easier.
Oh yeah.
So the other thing is, of course, we stream our live video. So even though we're a radio talk show, you can also watch the Computer America show. And I'll tell you what the advantages are in a minute. But if you just click the Show Lounge, it's on the menu of all the Computer America pages. Just click Show Lounge. It's the second option from the left in the menu bar, and the live streaming video will begin automatically. And so not only you can see me, you can see Ben, you can see our guest tonight holding his glass of wine, which we'll get to in a minute. And also Ben has the technology to display websites, videos, anything that he wants to, so you can actually see some of the things that we're talking about as well. So it just makes for a more interactive broadcast experience. So we invite you to join our live video stream. The other thing that I want to tell you about is when you go to computeramerica.com and you click on the tonight's show, and one of the things that you'll see is something called Cheat Notes. It's in all caps. It's at the bottom. And you click on that, and it'll open up a Google Docs document, and you're going to be able to see everything that we're talking about tonight. The entire page will become clear to you, and you can see it. And you can see all the topics are there. Not only the topics there, but there are links there as well if you want to explore further during the show or after the show. All of that is there on the cheat notes. So another way you can interact with Computer America. So all these things are available, and again, at our website and here at computeramerica.com. So I guess before we start, I wanted to ask the wine, tonight's wine, Marcel, what is it?
Well, I've gotten into this weird little habit. There's I've started following some people on Google Plus and other places whose entire purpose in life seems to be to come up with inexpensive wines. As opposed, in fact, one of the ones that I kind of like to follow on Google Plus is the reverse wine snob. I have no idea who the heck this person is or these persons. I can't say, but I like the idea. I've gotten into the idea. I mean, I love the idea of of an expensive wine. I mean, it's great fun to do that. But I've also started reading up on and checking out wines that are like very inexpensive but still rate highly or still are flavorful or whatever. You ever tried I mean, I don't know if you guys are into wine in any way, but I've got an app on my phone called Vivino, Vivino, and Vivino is cool because it's kind of a crowdsourced, if you'll pardon the expression. I mean, it's not just crowdsourced, but it is crowdsourced as well. It's kind of a social wine app. Mm-hmm. And what you do with it is you walk into your, like, the liquor store here, the LCBO or whatever, and you go up to a label and you look at these things and you have no idea if these things are any good. It would be kind of fun to talk to other people who've actually tried these things and say, was this thing actually any good? I'm going to spend $30 for a bottle of wine. Was it actually worthwhile? You don't know. So this app is a whole bunch of people, so I'm going to hold it up here. There we go. This app basically lets you scan a label. Ah. Okay, so down at the bottom here, there's a little icon, and I just want to point out to all the people out there, Android is Linux. Okay, so if you've got an Android phone or an Android tablet, you're already running Linux. Just letting you know that, more of you out there are actually running Linux than you know. So I'm running an Android tablet or an Android phone here. It's a Moto G 2nd generation. Anyway, and it's got that little icon there for the camera, and what you do is you click on that, and then you hold it up to the label of your bottle. So you get your wine bottle, and you hold it up to the label, you take a picture, and it takes that label, it does a reverse image search, and it finds the wine, and more often than not, you'll find, lots of people who have tried the wine, and they'll rate it, 1 to 5 stars, or they'll leave notes on it, hey, I thought it was pretty good, and so forth. Like, I rated one a few days ago. It was actually a bottle. Let me try that. A bottle of bubbly. A bottle of bubbly. Say that 5 times real fast. A bottle of bubbly, a Segura Viudas Reserva, which is actually a Spanish, champagne-like, it's a sparkling wine, and it was like $15 a bottle, which probably like $5 for you guys, I don't know, but it was $15 a bottle up here, which is actually very inexpensive for a bubbly, and it was really good. It was, and I just put really nice, refreshing cava at roughly $15 Canadian. It's good value bubbly, and so I just left a simple note, because we're not wine snobs. We're just people leaving stuff. So I've started doing that. I've started following some of these people who are checking out the cheaper wines, the inexpensive wines, just because I'm trying to reverse the trend just for a little while, just to see what it's like. And so I've been going into the liquor store, and I've been basically looking at labels I would have never looked at in my life. Okay, because you see a really cheap bottle and you go, I'm not gonna look at this. It's gonna be crap, And then you scan it, and then you've got like 37 people that have rated it, who actually took the time to rate it. Say, this is actually really good. It's cheap. It's really good though. If you go to your when I was in Cedar Point last month, I picked up a bottle of Little Penguin. It's one of my favorite little Merlots. It's an Australian Merlot, Little Penguin. It's $5, in Cedar Point. It's $11 here, but it's $5 in Cedar Point, and it's an incredibly reliably good wine. I'm not saying that it's the sort of thing that is, going to get, the wine experts at Wine Spectator, hopping excitedly, but it's a really good wine, and it's reliable, and it's always good, and it's inexpensive. So tonight's wine, to answer the question, is it's an Argentinian Pinot Grigio, and it's from Mendoza, Argentina, and it's a Santa Julia Pinot Grigio.
2013.
2013, and let's have another sip here. So while you guys.
Let me hold up my phone here. This is the iPhone, and on here you can see the app is called Delectable, And this is the app that allows you to you scan a bottle of wine, and it'll tell you all about it and all the details. And you can also share. It has Find Friends. You can share friends, or you can read comments about the wine too. So even though if you don't have an Android phone, well, it is something like that is available also on the iPhone. It's called Delectable, and just that I would let you know.
All right, so there's our public service announcement for the drinking public tonight.
Exactly.
So I guess at this point you never have to truly drink alone. Like you could be drinking at home alone for research because you're going to share it with thousands of people online.
That is awesome, Ben.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I'm not drinking alone. I'm drinking for research.
Exactly.
Oh, nice.
Well, really, apps like that are just like I would assume, going to a bar and sitting down next to someone and saying, "What do you recommend?" And it's crowdsource all those people, and hey, a couple thousand have to be right.
Yeah.
I don't go to pubs an awful lot, so I'll be honest that way. But there's an app, I think it's called Tapped, and it's a social beer drinking app. And the idea is you go into a pub somewhere, and you basically leave notes for your friends. So it's a social. I guess it's like Foursquare for beer drinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you go into your local pub, you pick up a pint of whatever your poison is for the evening, and I say that in quotes, because it's not poison, it's wonderful, and you share that with your friends, and you also share the places you've been. That's the advantage of something like Tapped. You also tell. I think it's called Tapped. I don't use it because, like I said, I just don't go to pubs, as much as I used to. It's like, kids.
Yeah, the youngins can be rowdy.
I just want to also go to getting just aside here some things that we need to do. I know Marcel came on. I know a lot of you are coming on and looking for the chat room. We don't have a chat room anymore at Computer America, at least not for now. It looks like we'll be adding. If we do, it'll be later down the road. We're making a lot of changes at Computer America, including time changes, which we'll be announcing probably next week. Scheduling changes. Most all of our correspondents have agreed to the time change, and I know Marcel you have, but we really haven't formally announced it yet. But we'll probably either at the end of this week or probably the beginning of next week we'll announce.
We want to give you folks as little time as possible to prepare. So
exactly.
Be on your toes.
And the other thing, as I said, though, there is no more chat room, at least not for now. So, but again, you can interact several different ways, including the submit a question. We actually got a question that was submitted to us last night. We just didn't have time to get to it because of all the different things that were going on. We may or may not get to it tonight, but at worst case, we can. We'll do it tomorrow. All right. So the tonight's wine is the 2013 Santa Giulia Pinot Grigio from Argentina. So now, okay. So now moving right along. We're going to go into the first topic, which is Kali Linux. Is that South Pacific, Kali High, we'll hear you calling? And that was Bali.
No.
Kali High. Not Kali High, okay. Kali Linux.
Kali is actually a goddess. It's the name of an Indian goddess.
Uh-huh.
She's the aspect of another goddess, Durga. And Kali literally means the black one. So it's she's scary. She's like the goddess of death. She's the Hindu goddess of death. She's the one that comes and collects the souls. So she's like the Grim Reaper in Hindu mythology.
Kali.
And Kali's the one that you see her with with multiple arms, and she's holding weapons in all the arms and so forth. So she's quite a terrifying goddess. And Kali, every month I try to look at a couple of other Linux distributions. So I look at things that people might be interested in taking a look at. Kali is one that system administrators might want to take a look at, and I'm talking about system administrators who run like Windows, networks even. So if you're running a shop and you've got multiple pieces of hardware, whatever they might be, whether they're Linux or Mac or Windows or whatever. Kali Linux might be interesting for you, and you can get that one. I know that you've got all this in the show notes, but Kali.org, Kali.org, and this isn't your typical Linux distribution. It boots up into a desktop as well. It's a Debian-based distribution. I mean, lots of them are. And this one is designed for security specialists. It's actually designed for penetration testing. In other words, what it is, it's based on the idea that the best defense is a strong offense. Okay? So you can use, this distribution comes with a whole pile of network tools. You've got things in it like Wireshark and Nmap, so and tools so that you can sniff TCP/IP streams and so forth. It's got a whole bunch of built-in tools that can download, install, and run exploits. Some of them can be run hands-free. In other words, you just start a script. You know that old thing about script kiddies?
Yes.
You know where that term comes from, right?
I assume. Well, kiddies always thought meant kids, and kids use scripts because they don't know how to hack themselves. So
but that's the point. But that's the point, though. Go ahead. Sorry, Craig.
Didn't it have an overtone of they were amateurs trying to write these things?
Yeah, well, it had an overtone of amateurism, but that's because in the early days it was like you worked hard to figure out how to break into systems and so forth, and then eventually people started automating all these things. So the people that had worked hard and spent the time and so forth, would poo-poo the ones who basically took all the stuff that had already been done by other people and basically just ran scripts to take advantage of and of these various exploits, to break into systems. And so you sort of made fun of it. Now, the fact of the matter is, everybody who does this now is, if you'll pardon the expression, a script kiddie. Yes, there are people who are on the bleeding edge, who are, like your gray hats and your white hats out there, who are, that's their job. Their job is to look at code. Their job is to look at data streams and so forth. They're the people that will use something like Kali Linux, to basically continually poke at the network. Banks, financial organizations, insurance companies, and so forth, they hire these guys. They hire people whose job is to basically just keep poking at the network, to make sure that it's safe. Ashley Madison should have hired a few more of these people.
What a flub.
I'm sorry.
So is everyone who paid $20.
Like that Duggar dude,
Yeah, that was so many things. You mentioned quite often that you talk about many different things on your many different outlets. I'm sure you covered that, and we probably won't come here on the show. But I'm glad you at least touched on the security, and we're talking about security and just the complete lack of internet security even promised on the net. So that's kind of what hackers are, in some ways, to prove security is false or not enough, insufficient, what have you.
Yeah, but it's important to not just sit back and go, oh, geez, I'm going to trust that the people who put out Windows 8.1, went out of their way to make sure that this was infinitely secure and that no one will ever break into my system. Yeah, right. Like, we're going to make, you can't just sit back and do that. If you're running an IT shop and your job is security, part of your job should be, let's be honest, trying to break into your own systems. That's called ethical hacking. In other words, you're not trying to break into other people's system. You're trying to look for the weaknesses in your own network. And now, I mean, I don't want to, we're all making jokes about Ashley Madison, but the fact of the matter is, everybody gets hacked. I mean, the CIA has gotten hacked. The FBI has gotten hacked. Target had a famous hack where they lost a whole pile of credit card information. Among the people I know who work in security, the feeling isn't if you'll get hacked, but when. And how you respond to it and how you deal with it and what you've done to mitigate the damage, which is invariably going to come at some point. Like, you can't be watching 24/7. So the best you can do is to try to stay on top of things, make sure that the latest patches have been applied, especially if it's a security patch or update, that those things have been applied. And if you're in the business of security, you make sure that you arm yourself with a toolkit so that you understand what the bad guys are doing to try to get into your system. And that's the point of a system like Kali Linux. You look like you're going to say something, Ben.
No, it seems kind of, I'm probably using the word eclectic wrong, like very narrow. Would someone who has no experience but maybe interest, like, would Kali Linux be a good place to start, or is it simply a tool for someone who already knows what they're doing?
There are. Sorry, Craig, go ahead.
I was going to think the latter. It's got these sophisticated penetration testing tools. I would think you really need to understand the technology behind that to use this productively. At least that's my observation from this. I mean, you tell us.
I'm sort of halfway on there, and I'll tell you why. I mean, as a distribution, this is a tool that security professionals would likely use. However, anybody can learn this stuff. Like, and of course, this is where the script kiddies come into play. Anybody can learn this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And
if you boot up this distribution and you play with some of the tools, like one of my favorites from way back when is something called Nmap, N-M-A-P, which is basically short for network map. And it really is kind of neat that way, because you can actually use Nmap to do a quick scan on your network and identify every single computer device that's got an IP address that's connected to your network. And depending on the flags, that you pass to it, it will actually come back and say, oh, that's a PC running Windows, hey, Windows Vista over there, and that's a PC running Linux, probably some version of Red Hat, version number whatever, and there's an HP printer over here and so forth, and it'll actually come back and give you the signatures of all these different devices. It's really kind of eye-opening, and it's not that difficult to learn.
And obviously, with given the proper tools that they have all these different features and tools for penetration testers, it just makes it that much more easy to do. I mean, you're not sitting there with a C prompt or something. These are rather sophisticated tools that you can use. But obviously, the more knowledgeable you are, yes, anybody can learn it. But I would think the more experienced you are, the more knowledgeable you are, I think you can just make better use of these tools.
True, but if you start with a toolkit like this, and you look at some of the tools, there's like if you go to the Kali.org Linux site, there's actually a it's either doc.kali.org or docs.kali.org, which actually gives you a place to start and take a look at all these things. And of course, with all these things, there are groups that that function out there, and no, they're not all bad guys. I want to say that, I want to make that very clear. They're not all bad guys. They're people that are interested in understanding how networks work. And I'll give you an idea. I had a customer who wanted me to do some work on their network, and some previous person had decided that the really smart and incredibly clever way to stop a hacker would be to move the SSH, the secure shell port, to a different port. Secure shell by default is port 22.
All right.
Now it's like, this is insanely clever. No one is ever going to be able to figure this out. Well, you know what? You use a tool like Nmap. You type Nmap space hyphen lowercase s uppercase v, and it'll walk through all the ports and identify what's running on those ports. Now, it takes a few minutes, and you go off and you get a coffee, or you pour yourself a glass of wine, whatever. And in that time, it maps out every port on and of course you could do it on the whole network, or you could do it on a specific IP address, and you could say 192.168. I'm making stuff up here, but it will identify everything that's running on all the ports and tell you where it is. So all of a sudden, it's like, hey, they put SSH on port 1234, and the customer who didn't know where it was running, might not feel 100% comfortable that it was so easy to figure out where it was running, but at least you were able to fix their system, which is what they were looking for in the first place.
All right. Well, again, you can see more about this again from our show notes. The website is www.kali.org, and some additional links are again in the cheat notes. And
yeah, and by the way, when you look at the cheat notes, all right, there is a really scary little video which you really have to check out because it's cool. It's scary, but it's cool. All right, and it uses a box that's running Kali Linux. All right, and Kali on a smartphone. Okay, and if I remember the video correctly, it's a Nexus 5. So they've loaded up the Kali toolkit on a Nexus 5, and using that, in a matter of basically seconds, they take control of a Windows 8.1 system. It's really kind of cool and scary. It's in the show notes, right? It is, Craig? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it's in the show notes. It's really kind of cool. You just watch this, with your mouth wide open while, they just punch in a couple of little commands and they sit back and they wait for this box to come wide open. It's like, wow.
And that's all done from some kind of mini PC that they put it on the same network, or?
Well, it's on the same. I mean, it wouldn't have to be on the same network because I mean, if you know the IP addresses, obviously you wouldn't need the same network. But in the case of the demo, I believe it's on the same network.
Yeah, we got to take a little break and then we'll continue on. Marcel Gagné is here with us for both hours. It's all about Linux tonight. 347-884-8881 will get you through. We'll be right back with lots more. Don't go anywhere.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Has anybody seen my draft card? What? Oh, I'm on. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Works SD semi-automatic driver. The challenge of having the right driver bit with you for that one screw or piece of hardware you need to address only rarely sees a one-piece solution, let alone one as compact as the pistol grip model WX254L Works SD semi-automatic driver. To follow the gun metaphor, it's a little more like a revolver. It uses a 6-chamber cylinder that holds a different bit in each chamber. It comes both loaded with 6 standard screwdriver bits in one cylinder, and comes with a second cylinder holding things like hex bits, star bits, and a screw starter drill. You can change bits or cylinders by racking back a top slide for access. There's a front white LED work light to let you see your work target. A wall wart charges its 4-volt lithium internal battery battery, as confirmed by a red LED on the bottom of the handle. Bottom line, the model WX254L Works SD semi-automatic driver is a spin-and-win solution to never going far to find the bit you need to fit what you're doing now. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show, 33 minutes past the hour. Marcel Gagné is here with us on our All Linux Show. We have very precious viewers. Yeah, no. Craig actually likes you. You're you rank somewhere not far from the top.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a moving chart of all of our correspondence, and it's how much money they forwarded to Craig that month. So you're on the grid. You're on the grid.
And I'm on the grid. I'm on the grid without ever giving him anything. Wow.
I know, it's wonderful. But welcome back to our All Linux show. Marcel Gagné, obviously here, and I think we just finished up with Kali Linux. One thing that we really want to drive home here is that these show notes that we keep talking about. The show notes that we keep talking about, you can view them on the video stream. We talk about them. We speak very clearly about what we're talking about, but it's also, so you don't have to remember it or you just want to go and find the information later, it's available in the show notes on our website. So, very easy resource, and Marcel's obviously put a lot of work. You can tell formatting was done. So, this is very easy to read, and definitely go check that out. So, Callie, I'm not sure there's not much else we should,
No, we'll kind of leave it there. We'll kind of leave it there. But I do want to just hammer that home. It's not that difficult. You can spend time. You can learn these things. You know what? It's in a strange sort of way scary fun. Mm-hmm. It's scary fun because you find out how easy it actually is.
There you go. So that moves on to Mangaka Co.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah. Before we do that, check this guy. Have you got things that you've never opened? Have you got like action figures in boxes that you've never opened?
I collected race cars for a while. Yep, in box.
All right, this is Geek Man.
I've got a tube of bologna slices that I've never really.
No, it doesn't count. This is Geek Man. Look at this, Geek Man, 100% pure geek. This is awesome. I got this from the company when they put it out, happyworker.com. I don't even know if they still exist, but I thought this was so awesome. I got this at Real World Linux like a billion years ago. It comes with a secret passcode. He's got his own laptop. He's got a PDA. Remember PDAs? He's got a PDA, a coffee cup. It's awesome. Anyway.
And traditional geek uniform of black T-shirt and blue jeans. That's very nice.
And pocket protector. He's got a pocket protector.
Mm-hmm. And happyworker.com still exists.
Does it?
Yeah, they're a toy manufacturer.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So can you still get Geek Man?
Yeah, they got glow in the dark. Goodness, cute but deadly Illidian. Okay.
But can you get the Geek Man?
Yes, you can.
Figure?
Yes, you can.
Yes. All right.
Yes, you can.
Oh, sorry, I just yelled in your high fidelity stream. I apologize.
Mr. Chomps. They've got
They actually sell Geek Man through Amazon, of course, through Happy Worker. And for yours, Amazon Prime, $25, 2 days.
Mine is one of the originals. I got them free at Real World Linux. They just released them. This is a billion years ago. I wonder if there's a date on it. It's like in the before time. In fact, he's Geek Man number 455, or sorry, 455. He's only number 455 of however many they've made.
Oh wow, it was a big number though. There, but all the digits before the 455.
Wow, they're all zeros though, dude. All right, listen, we're digressing as I'm wont to do from time to time. Hey, as usual, I usually have a couple of Linux distributions, and the next one, somebody out here is going to love this. Okay. All right, somebody out there, you've got somebody listening tonight who is sitting there thinking, I love manga. I love Japanese animation, and there's nobody else out there who loves that stuff as much as I do. Well, you know, especially not people who work in computers. Wrong. There's a Linux system. I should take a screenshot and share it with you guys, you know, so that you can take a look at it, because I've got it actually running in a different window here. But it's called Mangaka. At least I'm pronouncing it that way. Mangaka Ko, K-O-E. Maybe it's pronounced Koei, who knows? But anyway, Mangaka Ko is actually a Linux distribution. It's based on Ubuntu. And as you know, I mean, because Linux is a free operating system, and it's free as in beer meaning that you're allowed to, you know, somebody hands you a copy of Linux on a DVD or a CD, and it's free. So that's free as in beer, you know, like somebody gives you a free beer, a free glass of wine, and it's free. And then it's also free as in freedom, because you're allowed to do what you want with it. You're allowed to look at the code, you're allowed to modify it, and then and create new versions of it and hand them back out. So people, you remember we did a show where I talked about religious-based Linux distributions, or satanic Linux and stuff like that. You know, and Christian Linux. I mean, you know, God help us. But anyway, so this is a manga anime-based Linux distribution. It's based on Ubuntu, so it's a you know, a respin, or a, you know, a repackaging, recreation, uses different packages that the maintainer decided would be interesting to have. So they're not necessarily the packages you'd have on Ubuntu, but this one is based on KDE Plasma, which just happens to be my favorite Linux distribution. And what's kind of cool about it is, you know, it carries that whole anime theme all the way through it. And if you open a window, I mean, like I said, I should have sent you a screenshot or an animation or something, but you open a window and you got these little cute little anime characters that are sitting atop your windows. I mean, there's, you know, like I'm looking at one right now in the system settings, and there's this little anime character who's whistling a tune on top of the window.
Ben, can you show us on the website? Can you display it? I don't know.
What you mean?
What he's talking? There's the link there. Do you not see that from Mangaka? Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought I was displaying it.
No, there it is. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Okay.
Does it show you a screenshot? If we get a screenshot of one of the windows?
Yeah, they have.
They have. The one at the bottom is the latest one. So if you go right down at the bottom, that's the latest. That's the newest distribution on the on the more recent Ubuntu. And you can see like there's a variety of little characters. So you can change the characters that interact with you on the screen. Like you can see one sitting atop one of the windows there. It's cute. It's funky. It carries that that anime manga theme all the way through the distribution, but when you come right down to it, it's an Ubuntu or Kubuntu-based distribution, that provides you the tools that you'd expect to have, on a Linux distribution. There's in terms of games, there are things that you might not have otherwise. There's tools for learning Japanese. There's a manga download program on there. There's a Japanese study tool. Like I said, if you want to learn Japanese, there's even Performance, which is a karaoke game, and an anime visual novel game, all sorts of things like that. So they've added things to go along with that anime theme, that carries all the way through the distribution. So there you go. So if you're out there and you're a fan of manga or anime, there's a Linux distribution for you.
Wow. I love how he sits on the top of each little window, and he's doing a little whatever he's doing up there.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, there may be he's as well. I've gone through like a small handful of the characters there, but you can actually select different characters as well. So if you don't like that character, you can go to a different one.
But you found it to be a generally pleasant to use Linux. Like they didn't go for, okay, this one's going to be all about anime, and it kind of loses sight of still being a useful operating system.
It's still a useful operating system, and I mean it still works. It's just that they've added a few toys on it, and and some coloring that to give it that feel, that anime feel. So it's cool. It's fun, and as I pointed out, you remember I was talking about I had decided that I was going to run a new Linux distribution. In fact, I'm still running the same one. 2 months later, that's not a record, by the way. Maybe it's 3 months later now. It's not a record. I've run the same distribution longer than that, but I'm still running Netrunner, which I really, really enjoy. And it's Netrunner Ozymandias. And it has a, and it's based on the Ramses II. I am Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. And they carry that theme all the way through the distribution in the colors. So there are these desert golds all the way through it. There are wallpapers, that go off into the desert with fallen, Egyptian statues in the sand and stuff like that. And they carry it through, so it's completely useful, completely usable, but they've wrapped it up in a look and feel that that makes it part of the experience. Yeah. And honestly, Windows could learn a lot from that. You've got this boring, stupid distribution that, frankly, this boring, stupid operating system most people really hate the look of. Windows 8, what did everybody want to do right away? They wanted to change it. It's like, this sucks, man. How do I put it back to the way it was before? Well, what if you could choose from, a dozen different ways of presenting the desktop, of interacting with your operating system? That's fun. That's cool.
I like people in so much that I need them to listen to Computer America, but I've learned that no matter what you give the people, the masses, the whatever you give them, they'll find a way to complain about it. If you gave them the choice of, and again, this is opposite of Linux, because people who seek out Linux generally, again, seek out Linux. They know what they're getting, and they know what they're getting into, or they want to learn, or they're interested, and they like the variety. But I feel like if you gave 95% of people out there, it's like, okay, here's your hundreds of options. Choose. And they'll say, oh, look at all these options. Can't they make it simple? What the heck? And then you give them, okay, here's Windows 8.1. There you go, folks. Like, oh, we can't change anything. This is awful. Why do you pigeonhole us? They'll complain.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't disagree with you. However, I think you underestimate, I think you underestimate your audience. I find your lack of faith disturbing.
No.
I need to put on my Darth Vader helmet to say that. I find your lack of faith.
I trust our audience. It's the public. It's the 99%.
No. I get that, but I think that we sell people short when we assume. I know that choice is difficult at first, but I think choice is difficult at first because we are so used to being given, here you can choose from these 5 same items. It's like, here's your choice of the 5 same items. There's the professional version, the home version, the slightly scaled down home version, the pro home version, but it's all the same crap. Whereas the people who live in the Linux world, who work in the Linux world, have sort of, for the most part, they will live and work with the same desktop and the same environment that they have. But there's something fun, knowing that you can play with it, that you can tweak it, that you can muck about with it, that you can make it your own. And if you're the type that gets bored, you can easily move outside of that environment without actually losing anything. You can still work, you can still play, you can still do what you want to do, but you can do it in a different way. And once you get used to change, once you get used to choice, it's really hard to go back. It's hard to go. It's like, crap. You mean I've only got 2 things to choose from? Like, what kind of a cheap organization is this? It's hard to go back. It really, really is. Choice is good.
Yeah.
Feel the waters. Try a different wine tonight. Don't drink the same one you were drinking last week.
That makes complete sense, but it's hard to get people to shake that sense of comfort that they feel. It's this is my operating system. This is my routine. This is my everything. And especially with learning something new, like a new operating system or just a new program or a new anything, you're always going to compare it to what you know. And as much as we kind of hope that you like change, people are resistant. I've done it before where I've tried something new and I chicken out.
And that's why I'm here once a month, right?
to urge people to try new things, even if it's Mangaka.
Yeah, just go outside of your comfort zone, and if you tune into this show on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, and you hear me say this every month, then you're going to hear me say it again. The cool thing about Linux is it's not going to cost you anything other than time. All right. Almost all of these distributions, and I'm going to say 99.5% of them will have an ISO. They'll have an image file that you can download, burn onto a CD or DVD, and you know what? You don't even have to install it. You can actually boot up off the CD or DVD. It comes up on your desktop, and you can use it, and you don't lose anything. So you don't actually, there isn't that fear of, oh my God, I completely blew away everything in my computer, and it wasn't really what I wanted. Oh, I should have never done. You don't have to do that. You just, and when you boot it up, it works. Everything works. Networking works. Your web browser works. All this stuff works. You get to play with it. You get to try something, and you're not going to lose anything. It's just not that scary.
And
Makes
that's
sense.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely, yeah. That's just a wonderful feature. And because the Linux kernel, it's so much smaller, you can do things like that. I don't know if you would ever want to try to running Windows on a flash drive. Although we did some stories yesterday about they're coming up with some solid-state drives that are humongous and incredibly fast.
Yes, that's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, Intel just announced this new one. What was it? Was it Optane?
No, that's a different type of storage. That's the replacement to NAND. It was Opta something.
Yeah, but it's
well, SanDisk has got this big thing right now where I saw an ad. I don't remember where the heck it was, but it was an ad from SanDisk where they're trying to talk people into going solid state drive. Think SSD.
Yeah.
And go to their site. And you can answer a bunch of questions or however it is they've got it set up. I haven't gone to look at it. I just looked at the ad and it said, come to our site and we'll help you. Answer the questions that you need to answer to be able to switch to a solid state drive.
Well, they just announced a 16 terabyte. Let that sink in. 16 terabyte
yes.
drive. I don't know what the price tag on is yet. But then in the wake of that announcement, I think yesterday Intel just announced their new efforts with Micron. They're developing a new type of memory that's radically different than NAND technology. It's flash memory that will work. How many times faster, Ben? It was like
they say 10 times more dense. So of course 10 times storage and 1,000 times faster.
1,000 times faster than
yeah.
Yeah. So really.
I'm waiting for the crystals, like on Superman.
Yeah.
I think that would be so cool. Honestly, seriously, think about it. Can you imagine you get your shelf and you got all these cool crystals there, and some of those are your data.
See, sadly enough, I think we're already more advanced than that.
But cool, dude.
I
the
know.
Cool factor.
I know the aesthetics, and that is just the aesthetics would be amazing. It's just we know how to encode data into DNA and store it there. I mean that's better than crystals.
I agree with you, and in fact, it's one of the things that's kind of funny about watching something like the old Star Trek, for instance. In the 23rd century, you will have this little tiny device that you can use to communicate with somebody one-to-one. Hey, I've got a little device here that I can pull up the sum total of all human knowledge, in an instant and communicate with anyone on the planet. It's like, wow. How did we get so far beyond the science fiction of my youth? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you ever
self-fulfilling prophecy? Kids that grew up watching Star Trek and all this and Superman, they went out. That's what they grew up on. They said, "I want to make that," and then they did.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened, which is almost as cool as all this technology, self-driving cars, which is almost as cool as all this technology, is when I was a kid, it's like, waiting for a decent, a good science fiction movie with cool special effects to come out, it was like, oh wow, it finally happened. There's a great science. Now it's like everywhere. You got cool science fiction movies, fantasy, stuff like that, on television. Every channel you go, Netflix is dripping with the stuff. Geeks own the world now.
Because, again, that's part of technology, because CGI has become so affordable and inexpensive to do that they can make these incredible productions. That does it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll tell you. Well, okay. I want to kind of move into this next topic. I know
Yes.
we're really toward the top of the hour, but we certainly have a little time to introduction, and that is the featured Linux game.
Yeah, I occasionally have, even after I put this on, it's like, I got kind of excited about it because my kid plays this on the PS3 and plays this on his tablet and so forth. And then, I was sitting there thinking, it's the distinction is becoming really, really kind of hard to make. All right. There are games that run entirely on the operating system. I mean, if I click on the K on my KDE desktop here, and I go under games, I've got some arcade games here. I've got, hey, the classic Frozen Bubble. I've got GLtron. GLtron, by the way, is still awesome. To this day, it's still awesome. It's a Tron game. It's a 3D graphics Tron game based on the movie Tron. And I'm talking the original Tron, the light cycles. It's cool. It's a great game. It's got this Frozen Bubble here and K Breakout and Burger Space. I remember Burger Space. There's Mahjong and there's a couple of chess games. There's some logic games. Anyway, but now we've got Steam, right? Yeah. And Steam provides a platform. Now, not every game runs on every platform, but Steam is sort of leveling that playing field. All of a sudden, it's like games which were only available under Windows or were only available, on a particular gaming console, a PS3 or whatever, are being moved over to this sort of platform that allows you to run on virtually anything. And Craig, of course, is sitting there. He's doing the hanging himself by a rope. Virtually hanging himself by a rope. I can see him. He's not doing it, but I know that he's thinking it because, of course, Steam runs on Java, and we know. I mean, anybody who's ever tuned into the show knows how much Craig loves Java.
Yeah. Well, but we got rid of the thing that was Java which was the chat room. So we're. It really doesn't.
So that's why you got rid of it. You got rid of it because it ran on Java.
We actually found another chat room that wasn't running on Java, which was one. It used HTML5. But that's anyway. Continue on.
Anyway. Anyway, this particular this has just become available recently, and it's called Terraria, and Terraria, for anybody who is not aware of this one, is actually a sandbox game. We did a show months ago talking about Minecraft and running a Minecraft server and so forth. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Terraria is a game where you start off walking along the ground and then you dig down to the ground. You build caves. You collect supplies. You build things. The difference between it and I mean, there are lots of differences between it and Minecraft. The inevitable comparison is going to be made there, but the thing about it is it's all two-dimensional. Okay, so it's 2D graphics. So it's not this 3D building platform that you're used to looking at in Minecraft and games like that. The whole thing is two-dimensional, and it's like an adventure game. You're digging into caverns and you're going through dungeons and you meet monsters that you have to fight and so forth. You have to combat various foes, and to move on to different things, you have to beat them and so forth. It's in that respect, it's more like an adventure game than the let's build anything game that you've got like in Minecraft or games like that. Right. And it's just been released for Linux, so downloaded it for Steam, and for the people out there who are big fans of the game or who would like an alternative to, who happen to be running Linux, or who would like an alternative to Minecraft, Terraria might be the game for you, especially if you like old style adventure games.
I think of old style adventure games. I mean, I remember the original Colossal Cave.
Yes.
That's all text, though. But you're saying, is this is obviously...
Gotta get you new games, man. Yeah, every time we talk about games, you talk about all these...
Yeah.
Oh, I love that game that came out in '93, and it was just so much fun.
It was really, but why, with all the technology, they seem to go back to the old stuff? I mean, it's two-dimensional. I mean, there's got to be some good stuff in there. That's why they're doing it, Marcel.
You know, we are definitely in a in a world of there's a lot of nostalgia for games going around right now, which is why so many games, I mean, they're using like 8-bit graphics, or or if you want to push the envelope, 16-bit graphics. If you look at Terraria, it's like it might be 16. I think it's 16-bit graphics, but it's it's very old style in the way that it's presented, and in some ways, I think that the advantage of making it look cartoonish, or making it look, if you'll pardon the expression, old style, is that it lets you know all the way through it that it's fantasy. There's no question that it's fantasy. If you're playing, one of these modern warfare games or something like that, where it's ultra visual realism, where it feels like you're actually there, it's, I'm not saying it's not exciting. I'm not saying it's not fun, but the fantasy edge sort of disappears. It's almost like you're putting yourself in a in a real life role playing game or something like that. You're going out and playing paintball or something.
Hey, listen, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to continue on with this. I'd like to explore this a little bit more, but you're listening to the Computer America Show. It's our All Linux show with Marcel Gagné, our Linux correspondent. We have a Linux Bulletin Review from Marty Winston. That's all coming up here in Hour 2 of the Computer America Show. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And Marcel Gagné.
I'm that guy.
Are still here.
We have some guy who just wandered in. He knows a lot about Linux.
Some guy wandered in.
Knows a lot about Linux. We thought we'd have him stay.
And he didn't want to drink alone, so figured he'd come on the show.
With tonight's wine, absolutely. And
I'm surprised you guys don't grab a drink when I come on the show.
Sometimes we feel like it, but
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Come on. How come you guys never join me? What's wrong with you guys?
I have some fruit punch in the refrigerator.
Doesn't count. Fruit punch does not count.
All right. I promise next month. And I can't say specific hours, but next month it'll be day drinking at that point. But I promise to drink with you next month.
Yay!
There you go.
And don't worry, I have a card. I'm legal. I don't care what people say about me.
I assumed that you were of legal age. I didn't know that for a fact, but I assume. Next month, just to really push it, Ben, I might drink a single malt scotch on the show.
Ooh. All right.
My word.
I don't know. We'll find it. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just stick with wine because it's a 2-hour show. You can only push back. You can only put back so much scotch in a 2-hour show. Wine, on the other hand.
Yeah, I mean, after your second, third glass, you're gonna go. Now, what was that Linux distribution? Exactly.
Hey, listen, I'm only down to half the bottle, so come on.
All right,
come on.
So we
amateur nights.
During the break, or just before the break, we were talking about Terraria. It's a featured Linux game on Steam Linux. I take it, Ben, you don't have a screenshot or a video that we could see Terraria. You could show.
Yeah, well, actually, if you go to terraria.org, which is actually the website for it, TERRARIA.org. If you go to that website, you will actually see screenshots of the software, and of course they make a big announcement. Ooh, Terraria is now available for Mac and Linux. Hey, you can run it on Mac, Craig.
All right. Okay. Over 3 million copies sold. Look at them. There he is. This
is a very popular game, and I have copies on our Android tablets. and I also have a copy on our PS3, and now I have it running on Linux as well.
You know,
Um,
it's the old style, but you can it still has a modern look. I mean, it has an old feel, but you can see the technology behind it is very modern. Some of the screenshots.
Yeah, it doesn't lag.
Yeah, it doesn't lag.
well, okay, there's that.
Yeah.
There's that. No, it is. But you know, they're going for that old style graphics, and of course it's that digging underground and you know, running and jumping and you know and picking up weapons and fighting things. And in a Minecraft sort of way, you know, you have to build. You know, you have to craft the things that you need. You know, so you know, you craft weapons and tools and so forth. It's and of course you can build, like, you know, you can build your whole world around it. It's cool. It's a great game, and like I said, if you've played Minecraft, you know, if you come from the Minecraft world, you will, you know, you'll find parts of it familiar, you know. But again, it is in a two-dimensional sort of world instead of, you know, the 3D block building stuff that you just do in Minecraft. And like I said, it's more like your colossal cave.
Right.
Sort of environment. So and you got all sorts of, you know, like I said, you got all sorts of tools and all sorts of weapons and all sorts of monsters and characters that you have to fight, and a lot of it is puzzles as well. You know, how do I get around this? How do I fight this particular character? What do I need to get past this point? You know, what do I need to build these particular things, and so on. So personally, I think these sandbox games are fantastic games. You know, they make you think. They you know, they present puzzles that you have to solve, and I think they're fantastic. I mean, I have no issues with my kids playing it because of that.
Yeah, no,
that's the you know, there was another game at the tip of my tongue. It reminds me a lot of this. It's, and I believe like this comparison has been drawn many times before, but Scribblenauts. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I don't know that one, no.
Scribblenauts came out before this. It was for the Nintendo Wii, and I believe even for the handhelds. And essentially, you put in anything you want. It's like, you know, defeat this boss, and then you say, okay, give me a giant bear, and a giant bear will pop up on the screen and it'll go. Or you can say, give me a submarine, and a submarine will plop down in front of you, and then you could shoot missiles out of your submarine. Like, it was open-ended. It let your creativity go, and you know, it like there was no one set way to finish the puzzle, but no one way worked for every puzzle.
Well,
so I think it's very similar to that, and I guess that's why, you know, kids like it. It's challenging, but you know, I think they can grasp the concept enough that it's never impossible.
There's a question here that was just posed. I don't know if it's tongue in cheek or something, but they want to know, Marcel, if you run Scotch Bunta or Wine Bunta.
I think it's tongue in cheek.
I think so.
You
yeah.
never know. Did you check the not directory?
What, the show notes? No.
No. The place where you go to look for different distributions of Linux.
Oh, okay. Linux distros.
Oh, Distro Watch. Well,
yes,
Distro Watch, but
there we go.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know that there is one.
Yeah, exactly. However, by the way, which reminds me, if you, again, I didn't give out the numbers. If you want to call us or ask Marcel a question, 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through, or submit a question at any of our pages on ComputerAmerica.com, the upper right-hand portion. Just click the submit a question. Okay, so
I want to apologize before we continue.
Yes.
Okay, I want to apologize because on my list and on Google Plus, I sent out a message saying, "Yeah, you can go into the chat room tonight." So I apologize to all the people that I said that to.
They curse Marcel. Where is the chat room?
Curse him! I hate him with every fiber of my being.
Oh no, it's there. We just hit it in a period in a sentence somewhere buried on our site. So
you want to keep people on your toes, definitely. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next topic, or are we gonna just keep playing games here?
No, Linux, robots, and autism.
You know, yeah, actually, I was kind of hoping to spend a good chunk of time talking about this. And it's this is hard for me because I tend to not be serious a lot of the time, and then of course this is one of those topics where it's like, oh man, I have to be serious now. So this is kind of hard for me. But anyway, so I'll do my best to be serious, but I'm not going to make any promises. Some of the people out there, I mean, I haven't kept this a secret, so it's not like this is some deep dark secret or something like that. But I have two kids, I have two boys, and one of them, my oldest, has autism.
Oh.
So it has it has presented some very special and very special challenges. It has created some difficulties. I mean, I won't sugarcoat it. It's not easy, and if anybody out there is familiar with, if you're not familiar with autism already, I mean, if you don't know anyone with autism, you will, because it's kind of reaching epidemic proportions in terms of the people. I think the figures are something like less than 1 in 100. So if you've got 80 or 90 people, one of them will have autism, or you've got a family member who has a child with autism, or is related to someone who has a child with autism, or adults with autism for that matter. So this is a big deal now, and it presents itself in ways that make it difficult for the individual. There are different levels. I mean, it's called the autism spectrum disorders, is the way they refer to it, because it is a spectrum. You've got people that are very low functioning, who are incapable of communicating, like they can't talk. People will call it nonverbal. They don't understand what is happening around them. They don't understand social interactions. And then you get into what we call the high-functioning autistics, like Sheldon on Big Bang Theory, for instance, is a classic Asperger's. He's autistic, but he's what we call high-functioning autistic. So you've got like this whole range, and but with a lot of autistics, even the ones that will display like a savant talents and so forth, they have huge difficulties in understanding some things that are particularly easy for people like you and me. Like, for instance, facial expressions. Is the person happy, sad? How do I even know what they're thinking? And that's one of the other things. They don't get what you're thinking. They may not understand the idea behind social interactions. Some of them may find it extremely difficult to even be in social environments with other people. They may find it difficult to communicate because of the social basis of communication. Let's face it. I mean, we learn to talk at an early age because we learn to read each other, right? My parents are making these sounds, I'm going to make the same sounds, and eventually we click on the idea that these sounds mean this and these sounds mean that, and all of a sudden we're talking. But for autistics, this can be extremely difficult, and in some cases it can take years, and a lot of training and a lot of support to get to the point where you've got just a foundation for communication and interacting socially. I see question marks in your eyes there.
Well, not really. We did sorry, because we've kind of covered the topic before in past shows, and we've even talked about how new technology all the time is helping out with autism, and we even did one about augmented reality. And there was actually a program, like one of the first uses for augmented reality was, so that someone with autism could wear it, and it would kind of read people's facial expressions for them and say this person is happy, angry, and blah blah blah, and they could just read the text on the screen, because they couldn't get that information just from looking at someone. So
are you trying to tell me that this was not created so we could have a holodeck?
Baby steps.
Oh man!
But technology and autism surprisingly work very well.
Well, I mean, we're one of the things with technology is there to make our lives easier. I know it doesn't always feel that way. All right, for the people out there, it may not always feel that way, but that's kind of the idea. Okay, and we create tools, and we've always done this. I mean, that's how we've built the world that we live in today. We've created tools that make it easier for us to do things. We've created tools that make it possible for us to get together without having to drive thousands of miles to be in the same room. I mean, we're all in different parts of the continent here, and yet here we are. We're all sitting there chatting, and there are people listening to us on the, on the radio or watching us on Google Hangouts or something like that, who can be scattered throughout the planet for that matter.
Yep.
So the tools are there to make things easier.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I'm reminded of the. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, the Helen Keller story. Now, Helen Keller was not autistic, certainly, but she was blind, and the moment of realization came when she was assigning the different things in her hand, and she had her hand under a spigot, and she's going W-A-T-E-R, W-A-T-E-R, and it was that moment that she finally realized that what she was doing in her hand spelled the word meaning water and made the connection. I did not realize that something similar to that happens with autistic people, where they don't make the connection to words or sounds and everything, or it takes a long time, but eventually that connection happens. So there are a lot of similarities there.
Well, and in that respect, it requires a lot of patience. And
Yes.
Believe it or not, this is how we're going to tie into robots in a second here. It requires a lot of patience because, when you've got a human being, all right, and we'll get to the robots here. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to be patient, and I admire, and I mean, I deeply admire. We've had therapists working with our son for years. We've had a number of therapists, a number of people, great people who are, who know their stuff, who have incredible patience, who spend a lot of time learning and working and taking notes and trying to find out, basically trying to make the connections themselves, so that they can come up with better ways to pass on the information, to make them understand the connections. So I admire those people, but human beings, and this is kind of where the robot comes into play, and we'll talk about the robot in a second. Human beings have, even if you are autistic, okay, you can sometimes get the idea that this person is obviously getting bored, or this person is obviously getting tired, or they've tried to get this through to me a few times, and they're no longer happy. It may be hard to figure out, but sometimes you recognize that it's difficult for the person on the other side as well. And your patience can run out, or your attention can wander, or their attention can wander, and that in itself presents challenges as well.
So how does the robot come into the play?
Well, I started this out by thinking about, hey, we could just talk about Linux robots, and it started out that way. I thought, there's a hacking kit for the Roomba. In fact, iRobot, the company, used to, Roomba, the vacuum cleaner robot. I have a Roomba. I love robots. I have several robots in the house. I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. That's a joke. It's a joke. All right, it's a joke. Have you been watching that new show? Have you been watching that new show, Humans?
Humans? No. What station is that on?
It's
Sci-Fi Channel.
I don't know what anything is on. Yeah, I think it's on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's fantastic. Okay. It's fantastic. You realize, of course, that we're moving into an age of robots. You know that, like, a lot of the jobs that people do are going away. The self-driving cars. If you're a cab driver or a limo driver or something like that, it's time to start looking for new work because your jobs are disappearing. All the Uber drivers out there that are driving for Uber is developing self-driving cars. You know why? Because they're not going to need you. All right?
Yeah.
Like, we're moving into the age of robotics. I'm actually in the process of reading a book called The Second Machine Age, which is absolutely, utterly fascinating. I highly recommend it to the people out there.
Did we skip the first one, or are they counting like the industrial area as like the first one?
Yeah. The first machine age was actually the steam engine. The steam engine was the first great invention that changed humanity. And even before other machines started to make their appearance, the reason it was the steam engine is because the steam engine made it possible for machines to do frightfully more work than human beings were capable of. Before then, machines could, you could get machines to do things, but they wouldn't necessarily be faster or stronger than human beings, right?
They'll
then
just work for no wage and for 24/7.
Yeah, but and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and this is actually one of the reasons people out there who are listening, I have no connection whatsoever to the authors of The Second Machine Age, but damn it, it's a great book, and it's something that you have to think about right now because it's coming, all right? And it's coming a lot sooner than you think. All right, all those manufacturing jobs that we're all, that people are talking about and are pining over, they're not coming back. None of that stuff is coming back, and believe it or not, I'm actually going to get back to robots in a second here, so this is something that, it's important to think about those things, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing, and I actually don't think that it's going to be a bad thing. Now, I'm not sure that I believe that true, and I'm doing this in quotes here, true artificial intelligence is ever going to happen, so I'm not sure that I'm worried about it in the same way that Elon Musk and, and Stephen Hawking are worried about it, but that doesn't mean that machines aren't becoming so good at doing jobs that we take for granted as human jobs that it's not going to dramatically, and forever alter the face of humanity in the world. And read up on it, think about it, look at it. There's a couple of TED Talks on The Second Machine Age as well. If you don't want to read the book, go and watch the TED Talks. It's well worth it. But there are some cool, there's some cool robot projects out there. I talked about, a Roomba. Like I said, I've got a Roomba, and you can, and we talked about. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to say that you mentioned Roomba hacking, and the only Roomba hack I saw was like people put like knives and cats on their Roombas.
No. It's a lot more than that. There's actually an interface to the Roomba, and in fact, iRobot sold a kit. I don't know if they still sell it, but they sold a kit which was a hackable Roomba, which actually came with USB cables and stuff like that, so that you could teach it to do things and so forth, understand how robotics worked. There's a whole pile, we were talking Raspberry Pis, and I said I would talk about Raspberry Pis today, but I'm not going to do it today. But they're Raspberry Pi kits, which are built around the idea of robots. In fact, there's a Raspberry Pi robot kit that basically works on a Roomba. There's an Indiegogo project that I saw today, or I saw a few days ago, I should say. I'm saying today because I'm looking at my show notes here, called Nixie, Nixie, which is like, this little personal robot. We're all creating these little virtual assistants, like, okay, Google. Oh, good, my phone didn't suddenly come on and say yes. But we've all got these different virtual assistants, on our phones. There's Cortana and Siri and Google. I have a program on my phone that I think is really, really cool, called Assistant. It's just plain called Assistant. Assistant.ai. They actually have a programming language or an interface system so that you can create applications based around the API for Assistant.ai. And it's called Assistant, and it's, you can make it a female or a male assistant or whatever, and it's conversational. It'll tell jokes, and give you your daily updates and stuff like that. It's really kind of cool. And I've tried several, but I happen to like Assistant. That's one, Assistant.ai. You can download it. I think it's probably the best of the Android ones at the moment. But people are taking those things and they're building them into boxes, like Amazon built the cylinder. What's it called?
Her name is Alexa, and it's Amazon.
Thank you.
Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called? Echo?
Yes, the Amazon.
I thought it was Alexa.
Her name is Alexa, but you can also call it the Echo. But like the unit is called the Echo, and then just like Siri, it's Alexa
has a name. Yeah. And of course, they're building these friendly personalities into it and so forth. And this robot that I talked about, Nixie, this Indiegogo thing, is this personal little robot. It wanders around and it communicates with you. And the idea is that it's a social robot. They talk about a whole variety of things, but there's a part of us that. Do you have cats? Any cats or dogs? Either of you guys have cats or dogs?
2 dogs. Actually, 5 dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Five dogs?
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
Between 3 adults. Yes.
Holy cow!
No, dogs.
I've got 2 kittens. I've got 2 cute. They're so cute. They're incredibly cute. I've locked them out of the office because I don't want them wandering across my keyboard. I don't know what it is with cats and keyboards, but
Oh, it's warm.
but they'll sit across a regular keyboard, like a keyboard that's disconnected from a laptop. Okay, those things aren't warm. No, they're
No,
just
that's true.
keyboards.
That's
You know, and
true.
they'll still sit across them. Anyway, I digress. I do that, you know. I digress. I have this little flipboard thing called Look a Shiny Object. I even had I kept the website going for a while called Look a Shiny Object because it's like, oh, just things that interest me before I move on to something else. It's like, oh, squirrel. Anyway, so yes, I'll go back. Anyway, so there are a whole bunch of robots or virtual assistants or things like that. I saw another one a few days ago, which was and I desperately wanted to know. It ran on, it was one of those things that ran on Linux, and but it was conversational, and it had a very much a what's what I'm looking for, a personality, so that you could communicate with it and chat with it and so forth. But there are more and more of these things all the time. So whatever we might think about, the scary future of robots and so forth, on some level, there's something about robots, and it's not the slave thing. I don't believe that it's the slave thing, but there's something about robots that fascinates us, as though we're holding up a mirror to ourselves, but a mirror that's easier to understand than people. Robots are kind of like scaled down versions of people. They're like pets that talk.
Yeah, it's a theme that's been explored since the 30s, I think. It goes way back, artificial intelligence and all that good stuff. And we've seen it in so much media, and it's in pop culture for sure. And, just alien races that are so advanced that they're nothing but robotics. We have, robots that come to life. Like one of the first movies I ever saw, well, I remember seeing, was Short Circuit. And robots coming to life. It's been
5.
Number 5 is alive. Yes.
Exactly. It's been there for so long, and I think people kind of they romanticize it, but then they say, okay, it could become a person, it could become a sentient being. I could converse with it, and it could get me a bowl of cereal. And then there's another part that's scared of it. It's it could take. In reality, you're 95% of jobs out there that aren't creative based, they could be replaced by robots one day. So it's that duality. It's I could create this thing and I could learn to enjoy it, and then it could kind of destroy society by being too good at what it naturally does.
See, his other
Skynet will definitely run Linux, but continue.
Mm-hmm.
His other favorite movie is Chappie, in Johnny Five.
So.
The thing though is I really kind of think of it. I mean, robots have been discussed, since the original one was RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots, by the Russian writer. I'm trying to remember his name now, Kopak, and of course we've been discussing that ever since. Robots are our new slaves. We can get them to do whatever we want. But in many ways, we're finding that we're building robots for specific purposes. But when we imbue robots with a human quality, exactly. When we do that, when we give them that human quality, when we anthropomorphize the robots, it's like we're building companions as opposed to slaves. It doesn't seem to be the way we're headed. Almost all of the robots that you see that are being developed out there right now are what I'd call social robots.
Yeah, companions.
Okay, they're meant to interact with human beings, but in like simplified humans. They're like I said, they're like pets that talk. Sorry, go ahead, Craig. You're going to say something.
No, I was going to say they're like pets that talk. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, because Linux is so incredibly powerful, and because it's a free and open source operating system that anybody can use free of charge, and let's face it, come on, I know I make jokes about Windows and so forth, but the fact of the matter is, of the 500 top supercomputers in the world, 497 of them run Linux. and the other 3 run different versions of Unix. So, Linux is not only the most popular operating system in the world, it's also the most powerful operating system in the world. So if you're going to build a robot, of course you're going to build it on Linux. So to go back to Linux and autism, there have been, somewhere along the way somebody noticed that my autistic son took to a tablet almost instantly.
Wow.
He had trouble understanding, he had trouble with a book, he had trouble with all these other things, and then he picked up a tablet, and all of a sudden he's just pointing and opening up applications and working inside them, and swiping back and forth, and it's like it was almost like.
How did that make you feel as a parent? I mean, I'm just in awe of that.
Which part?
Well, I mean, the tablet. I mean, his starting.
Oh well, it was kind of like, okay, you've got difficulty with these other things. He would line things up. He'd put blocks together in consistent patterns over and over again, and then all of a sudden he picks up this thing and he's acting like, I'm a computer genius. I can just walk through and run things and so forth. And it's like where did this come from?
Yeah.
And he. I'm lucky enough that my son is verbal, but his level of communication is limited in the sense that he tends to ask for things. There's no small talk. Like he'll never come and say, "Hi, how you doing?"
Right.
or tell you how he's feeling or something like that. That doesn't happen. Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, we're at the bottom of the hour, and I want to let you continue. We're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back. Marcel Gagné, our Linux expert. We're talking about Linux and autism. We'll be right back with more right after this. Stay with us, please. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf's staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
You know it's the best part of the show, right? It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Waterloo Gas Monkey Garage Tool Chest and Cabinet. Gas Monkey Garage is just one of the licensed brands under which Waterloo Industries manufactures those rolling metal stack of drawer carts that seem to scream mechanic no matter how skilled the owner of the thing or the tools inside may be. These tool trolleys come in 3 levels of construction. Thin metal versions as low-price leaders for casual weekend mechanics, super brawny versions for the pros, and a level in between like the one we got for more than casual but less than professional users. The muscle combo we got for review includes a 26-inch wide chest. Its drawers are on ball-bearing slides that can handle 75 pounds each. Plus, it has gas struts on the top lid. It all rides atop a rolling 26-inch wide cabinet. The whole thing on 5-inch by 2-inch wheels. It has an overall load rating of 1,000 pounds, half a ton. Ours arrived at a great time, just before we moved, but we should have gone this way years ago. Bottom line, the Gas Monkey Garage 26-inch rolling tool cabinet and chest muscle combo from Waterloo Industries is a formidable chaos antidote on wheels for all the tools most of us are ever likely to have or need. It's Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back. Welcome back in the welcome back to the second hour of the Computer America show. In the home stretch, 30 minutes left to go. Not that anyone's keeping track, of course.
I'm not keeping track. Yeah. Anyway,
no.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just want to bring it back in a little bit smoother. Right before the break, Marcel Gagné was making the connection, of course, between his son and the difficulties, but of course, technology. A lot of people design it every day to be as intuitive as possible, and it sounds like your son, who, as you said, has had some difficulties with autism and traditional learning, took to tablet like a duck to water.
He did, and he's not the only one. I mean, I've seen it happen with others, and I'm not the only one who will tell a similar story. And I watch him play video games. He has trouble navigating what should happen next and so forth, and yet he'll play a game like Sonic Unleashed, where it's incredibly ridiculously fast paced, and he can outplay all of us. Just like seriously, I mean, he's incredibly fast with it. But building on that, there are therapists and there are people who notice that for whatever reason, some of these people, we always want to say kids, but some of these are adults, but some autistics seem to be able to communicate and work with technology easier than they could with people. Let's face it, we're pretty complex beings, and if you're trying to figure out, all the signals that are coming from a person, and that kind of signal processing is difficult, if you can reduce the static, it's a little bit easier. I read an article a couple of years ago, and I'm going to get to the robot in just a second here. I read an article a couple of years ago that talked about there was some person talking about how much his son loved Thomas the Tank Engine, and I'm talking about the pre-animation Thomas, the one where it's a stop animation, and my son was obsessed with it, as well, and his theory sort of seemed to fall in line with what I was observing, which was they were simplified people. The expressions, they were smiling. They didn't move from anger to a smile. They were either smiling or they were angry or they were, surprised or whatever. The expressions were all very simplified. There wasn't this motion. It was, like we're here, we're there, and we move on to the next thing. So it was kind of like life simplified, communication simplified. And so there were some researchers that decided to take this to the next level, and they said, hey, what if we took the developments that we're doing in robotics and we used the robot as a teaching tool? And so they started working on that, and there's a small handful of companies that are working on that. And what they did was they started building these robots to deliver the type of training, the kind of one-on-one therapy that a human therapist was doing before. And in the case of one company, they were working with a university, and they found that when some of the kids were working with a human therapist, they were attending, as in they were paying attention about 3% of the time. And when they were suddenly presented with a robot who was delivering the same information, they were paying attention more than 80% of the time.
Wow.
So if you're only paid, so and you've got the website up, RoboKind is the one that I started looking at. Now RoboKind is fascinating because they developed a humanoid robot that actually runs Linux, as it turns out. It runs a version of Ubuntu Linux. I found that out when I was booting him up, and the Ubuntu boot screen came up, and that's so cool! It's running Linux. I love that. You know, as a Linux geek, it was it touched me. But what's interesting about this robot, and this robot's name is Milo, and I know you're showing pictures of him, but I decided to actually buy Milo, and no, he's not cheap. You're going to want him for a specific purpose, but there we go. This is Milo, and I know that you've got a picture of him, doing his thing there, but I've got him on screen. I'm holding him up right now. This is Milo, and Milo is a humanoid robot, and he comes with he's quite intelligent. He has, I'll actually make him do something in a moment here, but he has an amazingly expressive face. We talked about this anime distribution, and he's got almost a Japanese anime sort of face.
Yeah.
He's got these simplified expressions. He's got big eyes. He's very friendly looking. He's got this, cartoonish sort of hair and so forth. And he's fully articulated. He moves his arms, he talks, he turns his head. And this one is really cool. There are tons of servos inside that face. If you could touch it, you'd see that it's kind of soft. It's this rubberized flesh that's sitting across the face. And my son's already, he's already reached across, and it's like, oh, this is so cool. And he's, touching Milo's face and trying to figure out how he works and so forth. And when Milo talks or moves, and I'll make him talk in a couple of minutes here, his face is able to do all sorts of different expressions. So not only is he able to deliver content, and he's got a screen up front here, like he's got a touch screen here. The person who works with him has a tablet that he can use to get Milo to do different sorts of courses and so forth. But Milo has a camera. He can watch. He can listen. He can talk. And his software is continually being updated. And we decided, after having, honestly, we've tried countless things over the years and have spent a lot of money, to help our son along, to give him all the opportunities he can. We saw this technology, and we watched some of the work that was being done with the technology, and decided that Milo would come to live with us. So we got Milo, and here he is. And I'll just go into his demo mode here, and I'll have him introduce himself here. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Milo. I'm new technology from RoboKind, and I am the next generation of therapy for children with autism. I am designed to help kids connect academically, socially, and behaviorally. Children with autism want to work with me because I am designed around their strengths, and I never get tired or frustrated. I help motivate kids intrinsically and can reinforce what your professionals are doing with them. I can see, hear, and make human-like expressions and gestures. My human microphones allow sessions to be monitored in real time or recorded and reviewed later by parents, teachers, or therapists. My software allows connections with tablets to deliver interactive lectures, demonstrations, and video lessons accessible to a wide range of the autism spectrum.
That's very, very cool.
Isn't that cool? Here, I'll stop him here.
No, don't turn me up.
For the therapists now and for the future.
Here, and of course, and of course, he's got all sorts of.
Help us change the world and truly improve the lives of children with autism. Hello. My name is
Okay,
Milo.
all right, that's enough, Milo.
Milo has very high ideals for what he wants to do and who he wants to help.
This leading edge curriculum
That's right.
attracts and recruits students by involving them in the very first program and engaging them in real-world programming from their very first lesson.
Milo doesn't have an off switch.
Unfortunately, I touched several buttons in a row, so I'm going to turn him down and let him finish his conversation. But Milo is, and of course I don't have the tablet sitting in front of me, so I can actually issue the commands to tell him to stop. But he is capable of all these different facial expressions. He can demonstrate anger and shock. He can move his arms around. He can dance. He can walk. He can do all sorts of different things, and of course he can model actions, and he can model facial expressions, and he's incredibly patient. He speaks slower than a normal person. He will communicate at roughly 20% slower than a normal person. He has infinite patience. He'll do the same thing over and over again without being tired. And like I said, when my son he's not a toy, so he doesn't actually play with him. But when my son works with him or looks at him and so forth, he's incredibly and utterly fascinated with this guy. Craig,
what do you think it is? What do you think it is? Is it that just the known fact that people with autism, they can't really identify people's emotions. They can't read subtle context clues and things like that. So with a robot, their brain doesn't have to try to interpret, or they just know that they don't have to focus on that, and they can just focus on what Milo is saying, or like what makes Milo so entrancing.
Well, first of all, one of the world's most famous. I'm going to quote one of the world's most famous autistics, Dr. Temple Grandin, who is quoted as saying, "If you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism," which essentially what she's saying is, they're all different. I mean, and there is this huge spectrum. There are people who are barely able to communicate, barely able to function, and then you've got the ones on the high end who are, composing symphonies, or running corporations or whatever. So there's a huge spectrum, and the challenges that these people have vary dramatically. So obviously, I'm more interested in the people that do find it challenging, that do have a hard time communicating, and my son's a bright kid. He's athletic. He's strong. He's a fun kid. He enjoys rough and tumble. He likes a tickle. He's friendly, but he doesn't understand social interactions. They're very difficult for him. He has trouble reading people's faces. He doesn't necessarily know if you're angry or if you're sad or something like that. Milo's expressions are dramatically simplified. He has a limited set of expressions, and he always, if he's giving you his angry face will always look exactly the same. You don't have to look at a different version of his angry face.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
No, I understand. I mean, I understand what the robokind, robots, and I understand that's probably a play on words from the word wonderkind, which is a person who achieved great success when relatively young, and so now they took the kin from that and made it robokind, robots. So I'm assuming that's where the name comes from.
You're a lot more clever than I am, because I thought it was robokind, as in a different kind of creature.
Nah, I think it's wonderkind, and it's a play on that word.
I bow to your superior.
Exactly. But yeah, everything that you're saying, I mean, it's an amazing. It's simplified, as you say. His expressions are simplified because, as you know, obviously, facial expressions can be.
So is that what Milo's there to teach? We say teach, and the first thing that pops in my mind is math, literature, grammar, blah blah blah. But Milo is what's the curriculum that he's designed to teach? Because I'm assuming it's not basic math.
He's teaching social interaction.
Yeah, he's teaching social interaction. He's teaching when people walk into a room and say hi or hello or whatever. What are you supposed to do when somebody walks into a room and says hi? I remember talking to one of Sebastian's teachers early on, and I said, and they only had so much experience with a guy like Sebastian, and and I said, in some ways, he's perfectly logical. Okay, you go into a room, like you go into an assembly, and the principal or somebody is sitting up there droning on about something that you don't give a damn about. Okay, my son will just get up and walk out. All right, why? Because why the hell would I want to sit there and listen to some guy drone on about something I don't care about? I'm wasting my time here. I'm gone.
But
But that's not what we do.
Yeah, tact. He doesn't understand tact or social interactions of things.
Yeah, but it's not even just tact. It's a very literal way of seeing the world. It's like there's no benefit from me sitting here and listening to this crap, so I'm just going to leave. Yeah. However, we are trained social animals, okay? And we know that what you do when you're in a group and somebody's talking at the front of the class is you sit down and you shut up and you listen. That's what you do, all right? When someone walks down the street in the morning and they go, "Hey, how you doing? Fine, good, you, great," and then you walk off. 5 minutes later, I bet you couldn't possibly remember whether they told you fine. And if they said, "I'm having a crappy day. How about you?" "Fine, great." You walk off, and you probably didn't even notice that they said they had a crappy day.
Only if
Why? But we're programmed that way. Those are the social interactions that we're used to. Hi, what's the benefit? What's the point of hi, how are you? Every morning when you see people over, what's the point of that? Okay? So in a strange sort of way, his mind, the autistic's mind, is extremely logical. It's like, well, there's no point in this conversation. It's like Spock, there's no point in this conversation. It's like, you say this every day. What's the point of you saying this every day? It's logical. It makes perfect sense. Why do you go through this routine that, frankly, nobody really cares about?
Well, it's sort of like that children say the darndest things. I mean, you're going to get extreme honesty from children, and it's just a
yes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not, I'm not trying to knock the social constructs that we've created, and I'm not trying to say that one is better than the other. What I am saying is that we are social animals, and the way that we work together is by understanding, various social rules, and we pick those up as we go along, and as we grow up, as we live with people, as we go to class, as we make friends, and so forth. But if you have trouble picking those things up, you're going to have trouble living in the society that we live in.
Right.
And so the tools that help you, that make that easier, that make it easier for you to understand, are cool tools. Sorry, Craig.
No, exactly. No, I'm just listening. I agree with you completely. May I ask, what does something like this cost?
He's not cheap. Milo runs he runs between $6,000 and $7,000 US.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so he's not cheap. Now they have a program where for homes and schools and so forth, where you put a down payment up front, and then you basically sort of lease them. You pay for them on a month-to-month basis, and that sort of softens the blow of spending, essentially buying a $6,000 or $7,000 piece of hardware. Now, I mean, Milo is cool as a learning tool, and like I said, because they've built them with all these, cool facial expressions, and I'm not going to get him talking again, but the technology that makes his facial expression, that gives him the facial expressions, is really kind of amazing, how they've built into it. And he's got all these different servos under the skin that make it possible for an incredible number of, here, I'll get him to panic. Which it makes it possible for an incredible number of physical interactions. And like I said, he's got hands that grab, so he's got hands that can actually pick up things, or hold onto your fingers or whatever. He can walk. He's frankly an amazing piece of technology. But the company also has a training program for high school. So there isn't just the the robots for autism side of it. There's also a curriculum so that you can learn how to program and communicate and teach essentially a robot to do all these things, to interact with human beings and so forth. So there's this other component as well. So that those open source tools, those technologies, the programming languages. Like if you go and take a look at the curriculum, you learn working with Linux, you learn Python, you learn the language, to communicate and operate and make the robot do things.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
No, I'm saying, and as you say, he's running a custom Ubuntu Linux, so I would think you would be extremely familiar. Do they give you the software application tools to program him?
They do. There's a different program for that. Obviously, for what I want him for. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not going to muck with those things. And in fact, we had a conversation. I did my Milo training today. I spent a couple of hours with the people at RoboKind. Now I'm going to call it that after now. I'll chat with them. I'll find out what it's actually called. Yeah, but I worked with them today, and they were awesome. They took me through. How you use the tablets, how you interact with the robot, how you start up lessons, how you do all various things with them, and of course I pointed out to them, I'm a Linux geek guy, and of course they're going to, please don't muck about with him, if you want him to be, the autism robot to work with your son and so forth, you can't go hacking him. Yes, you can do that, but please don't. Not for what you're trying to do. And I have no intentions of doing that because we got him for a very specialized purpose. Sure. But Milo is he's a tool that is also a training tool. So he's a training tool for people to learn a very specific skill set, but there's another side to him as well. And again, if you go to the website, there's another side to him, which is to train essentially the next generation of roboticists. And I talked about the second machine age, the coming of the robots. We are living in the age of robots. The robots are coming, and we, and if you want a job that's got a future, learn to work with robots. And this might just be the sort of thing. Now, we bought him as a family, obviously, but schools are getting, guys like Milo, are getting robots like Milo. Schools are getting that, and they're using them as part of their curriculum.
Wow. I even see they have robots for seniors here too, so they have quite a variety.
Well, that's a big deal. That's actually a big deal. As we've got an aging population and less people to take care of them, there's a huge segment of the population. There's another company called Aldebaran Robots, or Aldebaran Robots, or Aldebaran. They've got a robot called Now, N-A-O, and they've got another one. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's the big one is purely a social robot. It's not cheap. It's like $15,000 or $20,000. Wow. But its purpose is to be a companion, and the Japanese are taking to this in a big way because they've got a lot more. They've got a huge aging population and not enough people to take care of these seniors. So the robots are coming in to fill that void.
Wow, well, that's amazing.
And yes, they run Linux. I had to put that in.
Wait, the seniors run Linux?
My parents do. They're seniors and they run Linux on their computer though. They're not Linux powered.
Oh, okay.
But the thing that makes Milo different from pretty much every single one of these other ones, all the other ones that I've seen, all the other robots have a screen for a face, or they have eyes, that are basically lights that flash on and off and so forth. Milo has a human-like expressive face that can actually mimic, smiles and frowns and things like that.
You make an excellent.
It makes him very different.
Yeah, most robots I've seen have either a monitor, a screen for a face, and the face is an animation.
Mm-hmm.
Sort.
Yes.
Where this is actually mechanical, sort of a mechanical.
Yeah, and it's impressive. I mean, I don't know what the people who are watching on Hangouts were able to see of it, but it's really impressive.
It's dang near a ventriloquist dummy level. Like it's
well.
Uncanny.
But much more so, your ventriloquist dummy just has that mouth that pops up and down.
Exactly.
This is an expressive face. He frowns. He's got eyebrows that go up and down. His cheeks go out. It's cool.
And his mouth moves in a more natural manner.
Yes. Yes.
That's always been one of the big things, whether it be animation or whatever, to get the mouth to move in synchronous to the sounds that it's producing. That's probably one of the most complex things to do, and obviously this is getting a lot closer to that. And Marcel, we're almost out of time here. We got about a minute.
Yeah, I know.
Tell again, fasting. So tell us what you're up to. Anything else that you want to let our listeners know in about a minute?
I'm always up to a million things. I think my biggest problem is that I have this incredibly short attention span. I'm always looking. I just want to know everything that's new. I'm obsessed with new technology. I'm obsessed with what's changing and what's happening out there. I run a computer consulting company, so I mean that's kind of what I do during the day to make money. And and I still write, So and if people want to follow what I'm doing, they can either follow my websites, they can check out my Flipboard magazines where I post the stories that I find interesting, like my Cooking with Linux on Flipboard, and
Okay.
Okay. Follow me on Google Plus. I'm very accessible and easy to talk to.
All right. Well, listen. Stick with this to the end, of course. Coming up tomorrow night, it's Friday. In the first hour, we're going to have Uniden on the show. Now, they're very well known for their telephones, but we're going to talk about their WDVR4 digital wireless surveillance systems that uses video cameras and technology that's really, really slick. And so Uniden's going to be with us in the first hour. And in the second hour, we're going to have
60 seconds.
Software and Computer Systems Company. Okay, they make actually products for the Mac. They got a product called Scanners. It's for finding and repairing solid-state drives and dealing with system problems. And also they have their Performance Probe 2 to help isolate performance problems. It's a very interesting company. We're going to have the CEO of that company appearing on the show tomorrow night as well. So
you're telling me people don't want to just send their Mac off to customer support and pay $1,000?
Yeah. What? That's it. So they'll be on in the second hour. So that wraps it up. Thank you all for being with us.
Run Linux.
And we'll be here tomorrow night, same time, same bad channel. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Seconds.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there we go. And again, thanks to everybody for watching on our Google Hangouts live video stream. Thanks for being here. We see a bunch of you out there, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And Marcel will be with us here next week, different time, and we'll announce our new timing schedule for the month of September. It starts in September, and we'll announce all that as well. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time. See you tomorrow night. Thanks, Marcel.
You're welcome. Nice to be here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.